I slammed the resignation letter on Derek's desk at 4:57 p.m., the words effective immediately, burning like acid in my throat, and whispered, "Fuck your $45 pity raise. It's blood money for the grave you dug me." He laughed, that oily chuckle echoing off the glass walls of his corner office, assuming I'd crack by dawn like every other drone who'd threatened to bolt from Apex Dynamics. By 7:02 a.m., when the servers flatlined and his precious merger data evaporated into the ether, he was on his knees in the server room, begging the ghost of my ghosted code to resurrect what I'd buried deeper than his lies. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but mine started scalding hot, right there in the fluorescent hell of Apex's open-plan floor, where the air smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. I'm Charlotte Hayes, or was, the invisible gear that kept this Fortune 500 machine from grinding to a halt. 34 years old, single by choice after too many Wall Street wolves mistook my ambition for desperation, I'd clawed my way from data entry purgatory to lead systems architect. 8 years of 70-hour weeks, patching firewalls at 3 a.m. while the execs golfed in the Hamptons. And for what? A performance review that read like a eulogy. Exceeds expectations in crisis management. Recommend lateral move. Derek Voss, my direct report and the golden boy of Apex, handed me that review himself, his Rolex glinting under the LED lights like a taunt. Tall, broad-shouldered, with that Ivy League jawline that screamed trust fund. He was the kind of guy who quoted Sun Tzu in meetings but couldn't code his way out of a paper bag. "Char, it's not personal," he'd say, clapping my shoulder like we were frat brothers. But it was personal. Everything at Apex was. We'd built this beast together, or so I thought. Late nights debugging the core algorithms for their proprietary trading platform, the one that funneled billions through shadowy offshore accounts. I trusted him. Hell, I covered for him. It started 2 years back, during the 23 market dip. Apex was hemorrhaging cash, and Derek, in a panic, cooked the books. Not a skim here or there, full-on embezzlement. He siphoned $2.7 million into a dummy Cayman account, masking it as algorithm optimization fees. Sloppy, but brilliant in its audacity. When the auditors came sniffing, he pinned it on me. Charlotte authorized the transfers. He testified in that closed-door HR session, his voice steady as a surgeon's scalpel. I walked in expecting a pat on the back for stabilizing the system. I walked out with a gag order and a demotion veiled as restructuring. I took the fall because he swore it was a one-time glitch, that he'd make it right. "You're the backbone here, Char. Without you, we're exposed." And I believed him, because in the cutthroat coliseum of Manhattan finance, loyalty was the only currency that didn't depreciate. I rewrote the logs, buried the traces in nested subroutines only I could access. The feds bought the internal error narrative, slapped Apex with a fine that Derek's daddy lawyered down to peanuts, and I got a discretionary bonus of $12,000. Tax to hell, of course. Derek? Promoted to VP, with a corner office overlooking Bryant Park. Fast forward to review season. I'm pushing for a raise that matches the sweat equity I've poured in. $15K, maybe equity vestment. Derek slides across a manila folder, $45 biweekly. $90 a paycheck. It's generous, considering the irregularities, he says, eyes flicking to the door like he's expecting applause. Irregularities. That's what they called my silence, my sacrifice. The secret I'd chiseled into my bones to protect not just him, but the 1,200 families whose 401k's rode on Apex's stock price. I stared at the paper, the numbers blurring into the faces of my mom back in Ohio, scraping by on Social Security, or my sister Ellie, drowning in med school debt because I couldn't wire her more than table scraps. That's when the hook sank in. Not rage, not yet, just a cold calculus. I'd built Apex's nervous system from scratch. The quantum encrypted vaults, the AI-driven anomaly detectors, the kill switches that could vaporize data on a whim. Derek thought he owned me because he knew my weakness, guilt. But guilt has a shelf life, and mine expired at that moment. I didn't scream, didn't threaten lawsuits or HR Armageddon. I smiled, the kind of Midwestern polite that hides a Midwest winter. "Appreciate it, Derek. Means the world." He relaxed, poured us both scotch from his decanter. Real crystal, not the plastic cups from the break room. We toasted to Team Apex, and I slipped out at 5 sharp, The first time in years I hadn't stayed till the janitors arrived. Home was a one-bedroom walk-up in Hell's Kitchen, rent-stabilized but soul-crushing. I cracked a beer, yangling, because even in betrayal, some habits die hard, and fired up my laptop. Not the company-issued brick, but my personal rig, hardened against corporate spies. Lines of code scrolled like scripture, if-then statements that could unravel empires. I'd always had a backdoor, a ghost in the machine for emergencies. Tonight, it wasn't an emergency. It was Judgment Day. By midnight, I'd woven the first thread, a subtle cascade failure in the user authentication protocols. Nothing flashy, no alarms, no red flags. Just a slow bleed, where mid-level execs would start locking out of their dashboards come morning rush. Derek would blame IT support, the overworked schlubs in the basement. But I'd be gone, my badge deactivated remotely, my email forwarding to a burner account. Sleep didn't come easy. Dreams of Derek's testimony looped. She's always been unstable, for keeping his ass out of federal orange. I woke at 5:30, dawn painting my fire escape rusty orange, and hit send on the resignation. No bridges burned, yet. Just a quiet exit, the kind that leaves echoes. The subway to Midtown was a sardine can of suits, all scrolling Bloomberg on their phones, oblivious to the tremor I'd set loose. Apex's tower loomed like a monolith, glass and steel etched against the December gray. Security buzzed me through, old habits, and I rode the express to 42, the trading floor already humming with caffeine and desperation. Derek's office was dark, blinds drawn. Good. Phase 2, the coffee run. I detoured to the executive lounge, where the Keurig hissed like a viper. Into his go-to mug, black, no sugar. I stirred a payload. Not poison, nothing that dramatic. Just a custom enzyme, bioprinted in my kitchen lab from a DIY biotech kit. Odorless, tasteless, it would trigger a 24-hour gut apocalypse. Cramps, fever, the works. Enough to keep him sidelined while the real storm brewed. Controversial? Hell yes. But in a world where he stole my future for his corner suite, a little Montezuma's revenge felt like poetic justice. Back at my desk, I tied off the loose ends. A final audit of the merger files, the $400 million deal with Vanguard that Derek was set to announce at noon. I'd encrypted them personally, layers deep. One wrong passphrase, and poof, randomized gibberish. His passphrase? The same one he'd used for our team-building poker nights. Charlotte sucks 22. Ironic, right? I keyed it in, watched the progress bar crawl to 100%, then initiated the purge. Not total deletion, that'd trigger backups. Just a metamorphosis, turning gold into fool's pyrite. 9:15 a.m. The first shouts echoed from the bullpen. What the fuck? My login's glitching. Traders slamming keyboards, phones lighting up with client panic. I kept my head down, feigning concern, typing nonsense into a terminal. By 9:45, the floor was a madhouse. VPs barking at help desk, coffee spilling on keyboards. Derek stumbled in at 10:02, pale as printer paper, clutching his midsection like it had been gut-punched. He locked eyes with me across the chaos, confusion flickering to suspicion. Char, you see this shit? He doubled over, waving me into his office. I followed, the door clicking shut like a trap. Servers are down, merger docs are garbled. SEC's gonna have our balls if we miss the filing. I leaned against his desk, arms crossed, the resignation peeking from my messenger bag. Sounds rough. Maybe it's karma for that $45 bump. His face twisted, pain or realization. What did you do? Nothing you wouldn't. I slid the letter across, watching it skid into his scotch puddle. I'm out. Effective now. Good luck with the purge. He lunged, but the enzyme hit full force. He crumpled, retching into his wastebasket. I stepped over the mess, badge slapping the scanner on my way out. The elevator descent felt like freefall, the lobby a blur of suits scattering like roaches. Outside, the wind whipped up 42nd Street, carrying the faint wail of sirens, probably ambulances for stress-induced meltdowns. Freedom tasted like exhaust and regret. But regret? Nah. That was Derek's department now. I hailed a cab to Penn Station, bound for Ohio, Mom's farmhouse calling like a siren's song. Phase 3 could wait. A deeper cut, one that'd scar the soul. Apex wasn't just a job, it was my prison. And I'd just turned the key. But as the train rattled westward, phone buzzing with voicemails from frantic colleagues. Char, come back. We need you. I wondered if I'd miscalculated. Derek wasn't the type to slink away. He'd hunt. And when he did, the real game would begin. The betrayal wasn't just his theft. It was the lie we'd both swallowed. That loyalty bought redemption. Mine hadn't. But revenge? That might. Ohio in December is a gray smear of corn stubble and rusted silos. The kind of flat nothing that makes you question if ambition was ever worth the price. Mom's place outside Dayton hadn't changed. Sagging porch. The same '98 Ford in the drive. Her hugging me at the door like I'd been gone a week, not dodging her calls for months. Charlotte Marie, you look like hell warmed over. Sit, I'll heat up chili. Her hands, veined and work-worn from diner shifts, squeezed mine too tight. Ellie was there too, home from her residency in Cleveland, eyes sharp behind her glasses. Heard about Apex on CNBC. Stocks tanking 8%. What did you do, burn the servers? I laughed, but it came out hollow, like wine through cracked boards. Over bowls of venison chili, Dad's recipe, the one he took to the grave after the plant closed in '09, I spilled it. Not all of it. The enzyme stayed my little heresy. But the embezzlement, the fall I took, Derek's smug ascension. Mom clucked her tongue, wiping flour from her apron. Men like that, they eat their own to feel full. You did right walking. Ellie, ever the pragmatist, scrolled her phone. Feds are circling. Insider whispers say the merger's DOA. Your timing's impeccable, sis. Impeccable or incendiary. By nightfall, my inbox was a war zone. HR threats of lawsuits for sabotage, old colleagues begging for decryption keys, even an olive branch email from the CEO himself. Let's talk compensation. I deleted them all, but sleep evaded me in the childhood twin bed, sheets smelling of lavender and loss. At 2 a.m., I cracked the laptop. Apex's public feeds were hemorrhaging. Dow Jones alerts, Reddit threads dissecting the cyber heist. Buried in the noise, a ping from my backdoor bot. Derek, holed up in a Tribeca penthouse, lawyering up. He'd always been 2 steps ahead, a chameleon in Brooks Brothers. Grew up silver-spooned in Greenwich, Yale Econ, then straight to Goldman where he learned the art of the pivot. Charm 1 minute, cutthroat the next. With me, it was mentor turned manipulator. We'd bonded over bad takeout and worse bosses, sharing war stories till dawn. He knew my tells. The way I twisted my necklace when cornered, the Ohio drawl that slipped out under stress. That's how he flipped the script on the audit. Fed me just enough rope to hang myself, then yanked. But I knew his too. The bourbon breath after losses, the manic texts at 4 a.m. plotting coups. Phase 3, the unmasking. I routed through a VPN chain, tore over proxies, untraceable even to NSA wet dreams, and infiltrated his personal cloud. Password, Charlotte 4, ever 69. Pathetic. Files tumbled out. Emails to his mistress in accounting. Wire transfers to political PACs greased for leniency. Even a dossier on me. Psych evals, keystroke logs. A forged psych report labeling me high risk for instability. Rage boiled fresh, but I channeled it cold. I didn't nuke it. That'd be sloppy. Invite feds. Instead, I seeded doubt. Doctored a memo from his account to the board. Contingency for Hayes fallout. Divert $500,000 to slush fund. Time-stamped pre-resignation. Then, a drip feed to whistleblower sites. ProPublica, ICIJ. By dawn, the headlines shifted from Apex glitch to exec turmoil. VP Voss under scrutiny. Mom found me at the kitchen table, eyes bloodshot, coffee gone cold. Go see your aunt in Cleveland, hon. Clear your head. Aunt Rita, the family black sheep. Divorced thrice, ran a dive bar off Lake Erie. Ellie drove me up I-71. The Buckeye State blurring past in silence broken only by NPR dissecting Apex's woes. You're playing with fire, Char, she said finally. Derek's connected. One wrong move, and it's not just your career, it's prison stripes. Prison. The word hung like smoke. I'd already worn invisible ones for him. In Cleveland, Rita's bar was a neon-lit confessional. Faded bud signs, jukebox crooning Springsteen. Over shots of Jameson, her hair of the dog, Cure, she grilled me. Revenge is like sex with an ex, feels good till the clap sets in. Rita was 62, tough as jerky, but her eyes softened when I confessed the enzyme. Jesus, girl, that's not revenge, that's attempted murder light. What's next? Car brakes. I shrugged, the liquor loosening the knot in my chest. The truth. All of it. But truth is a blade with two edges. That night, as snow flurried outside, my phone lit up. Unknown number. Derek's voice, ragged but resolute. Char, we need to talk. I'm flying out. Neutral ground. Say, that dive in Cleveland? My pulse jackhammered. How'd he track me? Ellie, maybe, or sell pings. Why? So you can pin this on me too? Silence. Then, because I didn't do it alone. You think that $2.70 mill vanished? It bought us both air, your mom's mortgage, Ellie's loans. I covered tracks too. Liar. But the hook twisted. He knew about the payoffs? I'd buried those deep, anonymous wires from slush I'd skimmed back, petty cash, ethical theft to balance the scales. If he had proof. Fine. Tomorrow, noon. Rita's. I hung up, stomach churning worse than his mug ever did. Ellie burst in, snow-dusted. Cops called. Apex filed a report, cyber tampering. Your name's on it. The room spun. Controversial decisions. Walk away clean, or double down. I chose the abyss. Noon came gray and biting. Rita's was empty save for a couple of steelworkers nursing drafts. Derek strode in like he owned the joint. Cashmere overcoat. No tie, playing the penitent. Char. He slid into the booth, signaling Rita for menus she ignored. You look good. Rural suits you. Cut the shit. What's this about us? I kept my voice low, hands steady on the laminated table. He leaned in, cologne cutting the fry oil. The embezzlement. It wasn't just me. Board greenlit it. Off books to dodge taxes. You fixed the code. I took the heat publicly. That fall you took? Theater. Kept the sharks off. Bullshit symphony. But his eyes, usually shark slick, held a flicker. Fear. Prove it. He slid a USB across. Dossier. Emails. Recordings. You're clean if you decrypt the merger. We fixed this. You're back. Double your ask equity. Temptation nod. Mom's roof. Ellie scrubs. But the back door in my mind whispered, check the metadata. Later, in Rita's back office, I did. Forged timestamps, his IP all over. Trap. He wasn't saving us. He was baiting a noose. That's when the flip hit. I didn't rage call. I mirrored him. A counter dossier, real this time. His Cayman logs, Mistra's payoffs, the psych smear. Uploaded to a dark web drop, with a timer to leak if I didn't check in hourly. Then, I texted, deal. But first, confess on record. He agreed, arrogant or desperate. We met at a neutral spot, abandoned warehouse off the lakefront, wind howling through broken panes. I wired a GoPro to a beam, rolling silent. He arrived solo, hands up. Char, this ends now. I confess, you pull the plug on leaks. He monologued, the board's nod, my essential role, his regrets. Lies woven with half-truths. The mortgage wires were his, anonymous gifts turned weapons. As he rapped, I stepped from shadows. One problem, Derek. The cameras live streaming to every whistleblower rag from here to DC. His face drained. You bitch. Traitor. I hit send on the final payload. Apex's core vault, cracked wide. Not destruction, exposure. Every dirty trade, every dodged reg, laid bare. The climax wasn't a bang. It was a flood, data cascading like the Cuyahoga in '69, oily and inevitable. He lunged, fists flying, but Rita's steelworker pals, tipped off by Ellie, pinned him. Cops swarmed minutes later, sirens cutting the gale. Derek spat as they cuffed him. You'll rot with me. Maybe. But in that moment, watching him dragged into the squad car, snow melting on his coat, I felt the split. Hero or villain? The board would spin it, paint me the scorned insider. Public? Divided. Cheer the takedown or cry corporate Armageddon, jobs lost in the rubble. I drove back to Rita's, knuckles white on the wheel, the GoPro feed going viral on X. Apex betrayal trending, talking heads debating my justice porn. Ellie waited with bail money, crowd-funded by old colleagues. You're famous, sis. Or infamous. Infamous fit. That night, over whiskey, Rita raised a glass. To Flips. Yours was the nastiest. But as cheers faded, my phone buzzed. Mom, voice trembling. Feds at the door, honey. Asking about you. The house of cards teetered. Revenge wasn't cold. It was a pyre, and I was dancing too close. Feds don't knock. They pound, badges flashing like bad omens under the porch light. 2 suits from the Manhattan field office, raincoats dripping Ohio mud. Grilled Mom in the living room while I hid in the basement, heart hammering against the water heater. Ms. Hayes, your daughter's a person of interest in a securities fraud. Mom, bless her steel spine, played dumb. Charlotte? She's been here helping with the farm. Must be mistaken. By dawn, they left empty-handed, but the noose tightened. Warrants brewing, assets frozen. Apex's stock cratered 22%, layoffs hitting like thunderclaps. 1,200 souls I'd saved, now cursing my name. I bolted to Ellie's in Cleveland, crashing on her couch amid med textbooks and takeout boxes. This is insane, she hissed, pacing in scrubs stained with ER coffee. You exposed a cesspool, but they'll crucify you for the flood. She was right. X was a battlefield, justice for Charlotte camps clashing with Apex victimhood. Memes of me as Cyberjoan of ARC or Corporate Cali. Derek's confession vid racked 50 million views, but his lawyers spun it, coerced, edited, my digital terrorism, the real crime. Rita smuggled burner phones and cash, her bar a hub for sympathizers, ex-Apex coders, jaded traders, even a rogue SEC analyst leaking case files. You're a folk hero, kid, she'd say, sliding Pyragus across the scarred oak. But heroes bleed. Paranoia set in, shadows and rear views, junk mail laced with threats. One night, a brick through Rita's window. Snitch Hayes, your mom's next. I doubled the dark web timer's frequency, a digital dead man switch ensuring the full dump if I went dark. Phase 4, the pivot. Derek wasn't the apex predator. He was the lure. The board, faceless titans like Harlan Crow, the CEO who'd greenlit the skim, lurked deeper. Crow's bio read like American royalty. Harvard, World Bank stints, now Apex's shadow emperor, yachting in the med while underlings like Derek danced. The USB he'd given me? Bait, but it cracked open his empire. Shell core in Delaware, PAC slush to senators, ties to 16 election dark money. I went underground, holing up in a no-tell-motel off I-90, laptop my Excalibur. Code flew, blockchain tracers peeling back layers, exposing $47 mil in laundered gains funneled to Crow's philanthropy fronts, schools in Haiti that existed only on paper. Controversial? Exposing elite grift could topple dominoes. Jobs saved, but markets roiled, pensions gutted. Who was I to play God? The betrayed gear, or the saboteur saint? Ellie visited incognito, ponytail and glasses masking her worry. Mom's scared, Char, says sell the farm if bail's high. Sell Dad's legacy. Over my corpse. Tell her I'm fixing it. For real. She hugged me fierce, whispering, don't die a martyr. Live messy. Live messy. Derek's trial loomed. Federal court in Foley Square, media circus primed. I couldn't testify, flight risk. But I could haunt. Anonymous affidavits, to the DA, packet sniff calls between Crow and senators. The night before opening arguments, I unleashed the cascade. Crow's empire, live on WikiLeaks mirrors, timestamped to drop mid-jury selection. Morning broke with chaos. CNN helicopters buzzed Manhattan as Crow resigned in disgrace, boards scattering like roaches. Derek, in orange jumpsuit, took the stand, flipping harder than a gymnast. It was Crow's orders. Hayes. She was collateral like me. His eyes found the camera, pleading, Char, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Truly. Lies or late epiphany. The courtroom erupted. Judge banged gavel till veins popped. Public fractured deeper. Wall Street Journal decried anarchist vigilantism. Vox hailed the great unmasking. Protests outside Apex HQ. Pink slips versus pitchforks. My face plastered everywhere. Composites from old LinkedIn shots. Bounty hunters called Rita. Deepfakes of me confessing went viral. I shaved my head, dyed it mousy, became a ghost in dive bars, nursing IPAs and plotting the endgame. Endgame, confrontation. Crow, cornered, holed up in his Hamptons estate. Ironic, the man who'd bankrupted families now bunker-bound. I drove the stolen beater east, Long Island's mansions mocking my frayed jeans. Security was laughable, panic hires. I scaled the wall at dusk, salt air thick, hard a war drum. Inside, through French doors, Crow in a silk robe, scotch in hand, staring at Fox News recaps. Ms. Hayes, he said without turning, voice like aged bourbon. Or should I say, the architect of Armageddon? I stepped into the study, Beretta, Rita's insurance. Loose in my pocket. No shots. This was theater. You built the machine, Harlan. I just pulled the plug. He pivoted, silver fox gone to seed, eyes appraising. Derek was a pawn. You knew that. The fall you took? Necessary sacrifice. Apex employs thousands. Widows, vets. Your revenge? It starves them. Guilt lanced, sharp as the wind off the sound. Like you starved me? For silence. He poured a second glass, slid it over. Join me. We rebuild. Your price, board seat, 7 figures. The flip again, ally or enemy. His hand on the decanter trembled. Fear or faint. I sipped, the burn steadying. Twist, I recorded this. Leaks if I don't walk. Crow laughed, bitter. Then we're both damned. But consider, the secret you buried wasn't just Derek's crime. It was mine, from the start. Your code? It masked my first skim, 18 crash. You fixed it blind, thinking it saved the firm. It saved me. Bombshell. I'd borne the original sin unknowingly. My ambition the unwitting accomplice. No pure villain, no spotless avenger. We were mirrors, cracked and complicit. I left him there, glass shattering behind as he hurled it. Sirens wailed distant, my leak auto-fired. Back on the road, dawn breaking gold over the dunes, the twist settled, redemption's illusion. Apex dissolved in scandal, assets seized, but Phoenix's rise. Crowed lawyer free, Derek plea to time served. Me? Indictments loomed, but pro bono armies, ACLU, hacker collectives, rallied. Mom's farm sold anyway, but to a co-op of laid-off Apex families, my reparations. Ellie finished residency, dedicated her first surgery to the fixer. Rita's bar thrived on Hayes Hero nights. Me? I vanished to Portland, brewing craft IPAs under alias, code for open-source co-ops. Happy? Tragic? Asked the forums still debating. Was I justice's blade or chaos's spark? Last tweet I saw before ghosting X. Charlotte Hayes. Villain or visionary? You decide. Damn right. In America's grind, nobody's clean. But in the mess, maybe that's the real revenge.